On Friday, President Trump threatened 50% tariffs on the country's biggest trading partner, the European Union. Frustrated by what he saw as a lack of progress in talks, the president threatened the 27-country alliance with those massive tariffs. He said they would be going into effect at the end of this week. But about 48 hours later, a change. President Trump saying on Sunday that the U.S. will hold off on implementing those additional tariffs on the European Union until July 9th. Trump said he received a call this weekend from the European Commission president requesting an extension while trade talks continue. Trump's threat to slap the EU with those 50% tariffs surprised European officials who thought trade talks were making progress. In fact, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent had just met with his European counterparts on Friday in Canada as part of the G7 meetings and had given no indication that new tariffs were coming. So interesting that everyone else thought things were going smoothly, and Trump was like, no.
We're making good progress. Trump's like, we got to speed this up. If you're getting a sense of whiplash, join the club. And that's really how most of the market now feels about it, is they're like, this is a negotiating tactic. I explained to folks over on the premium account, that's where I answer your questions every weekend. I'm like, listen, there are two options here. Trump doesn't follow through with the 50% tariffs, or he imposes them and then brings them back within a week or two, citing progress. So the first answer turned out to be the right one, where he'd never even went forward with them. Ultimately here, this is how he tries to get concessions. And as far as he's concerned, we have a major trade deficit with the European Union. They're our largest trading partner. And last year, the U.S. imported $600 billion in goods from the EU, but they only bought $370 billion of our goods. Now, when you add in services, which is something Trump doesn't like to do, but ultimately is part of trade, right? We're mainly services oriented here in the U.S., so that includes finance, consulting, U.S. tourism. The deficit shrinks, but there still is a deficit. But he is very focused on the goods deficit, as in Europe buying our stuff. Now, as far as the Europeans are concerned, and what we're hoping they'll buy more of, they buy lots of our military and defense products. They also buy a lot of our oil and gas. And the hope is to continue to get them away from Russian oil and Russian gas in particular, and have them import more of our stuff. The problem is we are at max capacity right now in the U.S., even with Trump's drill, baby drill. And ultimately, we don't have much more to sell them. A key thing here, Jill, for Trump, he wants Europe to impose tariffs on China. He wants them to buy less on Chinese products and make it more challenging for China to sell stuff to Europe. And that's part of the deal here. Remember, the UK is no longer part of the European Union. We've cut a separate framework of a deal with them. And key to that deal was UK saying, okay, we'll do some tariffs on China to make President Trump happy here.